Welcome back to 755 is real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. I'm with my co-host, Eric O'Flaherty. What's happening, Eric?
Nothing. I just love listening to you bitch about hotels. I don't know why. It just does something for me.
I was just telling Eric I'm staying at an airport hotel for like first time I can remember. I can't even remember staying at an airport hotel. But the Eagles are playing here Thursday night, and we are here through Thursday morning. So the rates were through the roof. And it's late in the season and we have budget. And I wasn't gonna spend 400 plus a night for a hotel that I normally get for like 250 in the city. Plus, we started yesterday with a double header, so you're not gonna be able to do anything that day. You're exhausted when you
Right.
get back
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
The only time I could have done something is like right now, and I'm sitting in this beautiful day and out here at the end of the runway. It's like planes, trains, and automobiles or something, man. It's just terrible. There's nothing. You can't even walk to a damn 7-Eleven. There's nothing here.
Nope.
Nothing. I go downstairs like 9:15 to get breakfast. I'm sorry, breakfast is over. I'm like, what? What is this? Hooterville? Am I supposed to go out and like slop the hogs at 5 a.m. and get breakfast? And she said, well, we're at airport hotel, so things start earlier. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
9:15. Brutal.
I do admire though that you go out and see the cities you're in because I follow you on Instagram and see some of the
I
stops you
normally
make
do.
and stuff. And
I normally do. I could go out and see the extended parking lot
yeah,
here.
that's why I'm laughing because I know it's messing up your
Or the
routine.
end of the runway here at Philly International Airport. God, brutal. Never again. I'll stay
You
in
got
a
Bowman
I'll
though,
stay
right?
in a hostel. Yeah, Bowman's here too. I'll stay in a hostel in downtown area next time this happens. Seriously. I'd rather stay in a hostel with like a shared bathroom. Well, maybe not that, but this is terrible. People that have to do this, that like normal business travelers who go into a place for a day or whatever and stay at airport hotels, I don't envy you. That travel sucks. Our travel's much better. We get to see places and stay for 3 days and unpack, that kind of thing. But anyway, all right. Nobody wants to hear that shit. The Braves came to Philadelphia for this 4 games and 3 day series with a magic number of down to 6, meaning they only have to win 3 of the 4 games to clinch because the magic number is 6, obviously, over the second place Phillies. And I sure yesterday, and I'm unabashedly pulling for them only because I don't want to go to Miami and have to clinch this weekend. I want them to do it here so I can skip that. But they split yesterday's doubleheader, and there was a lot. There was a lot in that doubleheader. The first game, Charlie Morton again has another quality start were it not for Acuna dropped, but lost a fly ball in the sun. It was a bad Sunday. He lost a fly ball in the sun in the 6th inning, but then to his credit, picked it up. Did you see that throw Acuna made?
Yep.
94 flat-footed, just picks it up and throws it.
he threw in 100 with not even a crow hop this year. He threw in over 100. The most impressive thing I've seen him do, he was playing catch with somebody.
Yeah,
He's
I
down the
remember that.
right field line in Arizona. Doesn't crow hop or anything, just takes a step, flicks his wrist, and throws it about 360.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I was my best day, maybe with like a double crow hop and my arm going numb and almost blacking out, could throw one 325. And this guy's just flicking balls 360 for fun. Not even working on it. He's just born that way.
So in that first game, Braves win 10-8 in 10 innings. Because in the ninth, with 2 outs, Ozzie fields a ground ball. Trey Turner throws wide to first, pulls Olson off the base a little bit. They ruled it a single. And the Phillies guys were like, I don't know, they might beat it out. I'm like, there's no way. That's a root. That's it. Ozzie was like, I think because Trey Turner's got the speed and it was in his head. He felt like he had to rush it. He didn't have to, though. But he threw it wide. Okay, so what happens? Of course, Bryce Harper's up next. Yeah. 2 outs, 2-run homer. You go into extra innings. I was amazed. It says a lot about this team that they still won that game. That's a game they lose in the past. Because the Braves were not very good in extra innings till this year. But they lose that game. in the past, and they came back and scored 2 in the top of the 10th. Kevin Pillar comes off the bench, had not played a game this month, hadn't played a game since the Colorado series in the last week of last days of August. Comes off the bench, and what does he do? The second pitch he sees, he hits a bullet for an RBI single to give him that drives in the winning run. Then they added one more on a Arcia hit. So 2 big guys that have come in the clutch this year that have been. But Pillar, what he's done in this, because this is his first time not playing much at all, that's in this role. So it's been really impressive to do that. I think that's, like Olson said, that's the hardest job in the game to me.
Yep.
To not play for long stretches and then be asked to come in. And he comes in against Alvarado, who's throwing 98.
I don't know how that guy ever gives up a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the best pitch in the game. If you ask me, a 99-mile-an-hour lefty sinker.
Yeah.
That he finds a way to that's my dream, is to have that pitch for a day, see how much fun it'd be. But I think that role Pillar's in, I mean, you see so many guys, it just destroys them because you have every excuse in the world to fail.
Yeah.
And if you get caught up in that, if you get caught up in telling yourself, how am I supposed to get a hit? I haven't played in 10 days. What are they expecting of me?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have the right mindset and just be like, well, this is where my career's at and I got to make the most of it. And how many times you prepare for that moment and it doesn't come is the hardest part. Sitting down there, grabbing your bat, taking your BP all game, getting ready. You think you're coming up, and then the situation doesn't develop, and you just sit right back down, wait another day. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's the hardest role in the game.
And that's the thing is, he's in a platoon in left field ostensibly, but he rarely plays because the Braves have seen by far the fewest left-handers in the National League. Yeah. I mean, they've seen hundreds of fewer plate appearances against lefties than most of the teams in the league, because a lot of teams are manipulating their rotation so that their lefties don't face the Braves.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you've noticed that.
That's happened for sure. And because they just rake against lefties.
And their lefties hit lefties. Olson, Harris, they both hit lefties.
Yeah. As a result, he's not playing for long stretches. And, obviously with no pitch hitting or with no pitch hitting for the pitcher, that role is so minimized. In the past, you wouldn't have never gone that long without the DH. You'd never gone that long without playing in the past years. But now with the DH, guys can go for 2 weeks without playing, literally, Yeah,
you might not use a pinch hitter though for
especially
the entire time.
Like the Braves, Yeah. So they platoon in left field. So he comes in. He's come in a couple times late for Eddie Rosario, but Eddie's played well, especially lately. And so he hasn't played much. And when he's in there, Pillar not only has got some big hits, but he plays, like Charlie said, like he sells out his body. Charlie said more than anybody I think I've ever seen. That's why Charlie said at a certain point in his career, after Charlie had become established, Pillar came up. He said, I always looked at this guy and wondered what it would be like to play with him. He said always had total respect for the guy. And he said it's been an honor to play with him. So it's pretty cool. He's just a part of this team. I know he's a small part as far as number of plate appearances and all that, but he's become a real integral part of the fabric of this team. I mean, everybody respects him so much, and him and Nicky Lopez have made this bench really strong. Not to mention whichever catcher's not in the game. They got a strong bench now for a bench they don't have to use much.
Yeah, and your teammates notice that stuff. Your teammates, I mean, those are your moments to earn your teammates' respect, because you get treated a certain way all year, but when you come up big in those situations, it's like, all right, we know what you're made of. And you want to prove that to your teammates. And I think both those guys have done a great job filling in.
Braves Love says, do you think the Braves will pick up Charlie's option for next year? He's got the same thing, the $20 million option. The Braves, last year at this time, they re-signed him and just eliminated the option, re-signed him with another option at the end of it. And last year at this time of the year, Charlie, he kind of I talked to him one time one-on-one, and he sounded like, he's leaning towards retiring. Sounds like it again this year, even more so. We talked to him last night after the game, and he said that decision will be not based on baseball really as much as family, because the baseball, if he goes on baseball, and look at his numbers, he's pitching great.
Yeah.
His stuff's the same as it's been for 5-7 years. There's no decline, really. I mean, I don't see any decline in his stuff when he's on like he is now. But he's got the 4 little kids at home, and the pull of that is getting pretty intense. But if he's a guy that had made $200 million in his career, I think he'd have retired a year ago. but he didn't make that kind of money in his career. He's making a lot of money at the end of his career.
Yeah.
And I don't know, G, he's not a guy that's going to need a ton of money. He's not a guy that blows a ton of money, lives extravagantly whatsoever.
Yeah. He doesn't need the new Lambo.
Right. Right. A fleet of cars. He didn't get divorced. He didn't, all that kind of thing. So but I don't know, man. Do you walk away from $20 million when you look at those 4 kids and you think, it'd be nice for them kids to not have to worry about anything and their kids to not have to worry about anything. I don't know. It's going to be up to Charlie. It helps that the Braves train. He literally drives home to Bradenton at spring training. That helps a lot. And they play some games up there too. Quite a few during the season, Bradenton and Sarasota during spring training. So that's stuff he'll have to weigh. I think the Braves, I probably hope I want to bring him back because of what he's doing on the field and what he does off the field. It's just invaluable. And if you do lose him, Max Fried's going to be entering the last year of his contract if they don't sign him. So you really don't have that guy. Max obviously is an established veteran now and all that, but really Charlie has so much wisdom that he imparts on these guys, and he's been through so much, some things that Max never went through, like really struggling for years at the beginning of his career and having to reinvent himself, and being labeled a bust as a top draft pick and wasn't good for a long time. So he's been through a lot, man, and didn't get really good till he was in his 30s.
Yeah, and that's when you're a young starter going through your struggles. He's the ultimate role model because he's been through that. He's had all the questions asked. He struggled as long as he did, and he figured it out. So he's somebody that can speak to you from an angle that other guys can't. Even for me, when I talk to young kids, I'm able to tell them, like, I wasn't great when I was in Little League. I wasn't great when I was in middle school. I wasn't great my early years in high school. And then all of a sudden, my senior year, I figured it out. Yeah. And Charlie can say that about his big league career to young major league players. And I mean, it's like that thing that Ozuna said to Harris earlier this year. Mm-hmm. It can just be one comment one time that just lights a fire under you and gives you the right mindset to keep pushing.
Yep.
And not have the shitty mindset. So, I mean, that's just one example of his value. But he's also made, 28 starts this year, 26 starts?
Yeah, 28.
I mean, with all the shit they've gone through, Max got hurt, Kyle got hurt. If I'm the team, I want him back strictly for that reason. It's just he's been stable. One of these years he's going to – I mean, I keep saying it, but he might just get tired of playing. But he's also going to get old at some point. He's not going to be able to do it. But like you said, he's not showing really any sign of decline. The stuff's still there. The value he has. I don't know why they wouldn't pick it up unless he just doesn't want to play anymore.
Yeah, I think it'll be up to him, really.
I
think they've probably made that clear to him.
Yeah.
$20 million might sound like a lot to some people, but if you look at the free agent market, you can't even begin to get a picture of his ilk for $20 million. You can get a Wainwright on the downside. Wainwright signed for a lot cheaper than that this year, but we saw why. He's got an 80 ERA. He had a decline in his stuff. He was throwing 88. Charlie's still throwing 96 to 90, 97 when he needs to. The spin rate's as great as ever. It's still elite spin rate. So, and he keeps himself in incredible shape. I don't know how he stays in such good shape. I mean, he's so slender and he just doesn't look. He's still got that perfect pitcher's body. Just hasn't changed.
Yeah. I don't think he's gotten carried away with any kind of new age training or anything like that. I think he's just into his mobility. Yeah, I mean, he threw 96, 97 when I met him. Like, that's just what his body's able to do. And I think he's probably got a routine that keeps him more focused on just functioning right and moving right and staying healthy. And that's all he really has to do. He doesn't have to improve.
Yeah, he looks like you'd think of a pitcher's body like a great pitcher in the 60s. He's like a Sandy Koufax or somebody like that wasn't like ripped or anything, just had a perfect pitcher's body.
Long levers, mobile, and knows how to use them.
Like Kevin Brown was before he decided to get a little bigger. When I covered him with the Marlins, that's what Kevin Brown was kind of built like. Yeah. And then he got really big when he went out to San Diego because being great wasn't good enough for him.
I remember, I think it was Butsy said he felt like Kevin Brown had to turn sideways to go through a doorway. His shoulders were so big.
He got so big. And then he started getting hurt all the time. Anyway, so Charlie had a rough inning in the third inning when he gave up a single and a walk for Alec Baum's game time 2-run double. But then he struck out 2 in a perfect fourth, and he would have gotten out of the fifth if not for Acuna losing that ball and his son. I'm not sure why Ronald doesn't wear sunglasses. Some guys just don't like wearing them, but he has those eye patch stickers that he wears even at night. But those aren't going to do it on a day like yesterday. It was sunny, but you had white puffy clouds too, and I think those puffy clouds really throw some guys off because that ball against the cloud is different than it is against blue sky.
Yeah, and you always get a weird game time with doubleheaders that you're not used to.
Right.
Yeah. What time was the game yesterday?
It was early. It was 12:20?
Okay, so that wouldn't really be an excuse then, because you play 12 1 o'clock day games during the year. I don't know. I mean, it hasn't happened to him a lot. Most of the time, I mean, these outfielders will be out there shagging as pitchers, and we can't see shit.
Yeah.
They are so good at positioning themselves to where they're blocking the sun and can still see the ball. He probably just got that one he couldn't.
Yeah, and he had the glove up there, shield like the guys do it to block the sun, but I think he'd already missed the ball at that point. I don't know. That's rough doing it without sunglasses. When you try to look it up in the sun without sunglasses, I mean, and seeing a ball. I mean, it's tough, man.
Yep.
But anyway, then he recovered. He had the wherewithal to recover and made an incredible throw to the plate, man. That was to cut down the second run in the inning and end the inning. So, but anyway, Morton goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, 4 walks, but only 4 runs. Should have been 3. And 9 strikeouts. It's the 7th time in his 28 starts that he's had at least 9 strikeouts. The 11th time he's had at least 8 strikeouts. And here's his past 6 starts, including the 1 extra run yesterday. 4-1 with a 1.85 ERA, 198 opponent's average, 573 opponent's OPS, 45 strikeouts and 18 walks, 0 homers in 34 innings. That's an incredible stretch, man.
Yeah, I mean, if he was 25, those are the numbers you're talking about signing him to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair. Well, it's not unfair. I mean, you start getting old. Everybody knows you're going to get old soon. And everybody's waiting for you to fall off and be done and stop producing. But, I mean, that's a tear he's on.
Yeah.
And he does it every year. He goes on tears like this.
Story of the day. Story of the week. Story of the past month. Matt Olson is he's on fire, man. He was named Player of the Week today for the second time in a span of a month. The dude is going to break Andrew Jones' record as soon as tonight. He got 2 more yesterday, 2 more homers. He's at 50 now. 50 homers. Only the second person in franchise history to have 50 homers. Only Pete Alonso has more homers than Matt Olson since 2019 in the majors. And I've looked at it today. Since the beginning of the 2018 season, Olson's first full season in the majors, he's got a 350 OBP, 516 slugging, 135 OPS plus, 35% better than average hitter. And I love these 162 game averages because you got to do that to me because the 2020 season threw everything off because it's a 60 game season. So you do 162 game averages. Dude, since the beginning of the 2018 season, his 162 game averages, 40 homers, 112 RBIs, 310 total bases. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. He's just so smooth. And I wonder if he swings a huge bat.
And in that Oakland home ballpark for most of that span.
Which is not a hitter's park at all.
No, at all.
Yeah.
Okay, and another really encouraging sign for the Braves and for him, I was talking to Chipper about this, the strikeout rate. Okay, while he's averaged twice as many strikeouts, 163 per 162, as walks during that long span since 2018, 82 walks per 162, like twice as many. In the past few months, his strikeout rate has gone down significantly, and the walk rate's gone up. So he's got 154 strikeouts and 93 walks for the season because, remember, he led the world in strikeouts early on. He was whiffing twice a game. But in the past 70 games, he has 56 strikeouts with 40 walks while hitting 333, 29 homers. That's 70 games, 29 homers, 75 RBIs, 431 OBP, 736 slugging, at 1167 OPS in 70 games, nearly half the season.
Yeah, I mean,
what a year he's having.
He's a stud. I think one thing that probably helps all these guys is nobody feels like they have to do it all. You're able to go.
Yeah, he said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to go through a slump of when you're on those teams that you're the only two good hitters in the 3-4 hole, you feel like if you don't get it done, nobody's going to. But you know how good it feels when he strikes out or pops out, and then Austin Riley comes up and hits a double or a homer behind him.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. It takes so much pressure off these guys that they just know with how deep this lineup is, I can get out. It's not a big deal. It's got to help.
So he's named Player of the Week and leads the majors in homers and RBIs with 50 and 127. Nobody else is even close in either. Franchise record, 7th Player of the Week award for the Braves this season. That ties the MLB record for most by a franchise in a year. 7th Player of the Week. And the things with the Braves, what you were just talking about, 6 different players have won the award. He's won it twice. Have won Player of the Week. 6 different players.
Yeah. Out of 9, that's insane. He's hit
for the week. He hit 545 with 4 homers, 8 RBIs, 1766 OPS. Then he hits 2 more homers to start the new week last night in the second game of the doubleheader. Both homers in the second game of that doubleheader came off Michael Lorenzen. Man, the first one, his 49th homer of the year. Did you see that ball he hit, that 2-1 curveball? It was not only inches below the strike zone, but it was inside by at least 1 or 2 balls in off the plate. And he dropped the bat head, golfed that thing. Just golfed it out, man. 6'5" guy doing that.
That was so pretty. It's such a tough angle to keep that ball fair and lift it like that and get the barrel to it. And that's what makes him, for me, so impressive is the next one he hits is fastball up and away out to left.
Yes.
Yes.
And the next pitch was up and away.
And they're all the same effort level. I think I don't know if he's incredibly strong, if he swings a heavy bat, or if he just leverages well, or if he just has this ability to hit the ball perfect. But his swing looks like a 60% swing.
Yeah.
It never looks like he's trying that hard. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of when Chipper used to hit a home run opposite field, how he just lays the bat on it and he leverages so well, it just carries.
Yeah, it's good comp with Chipper, especially late in his career. Chipper had swings that were so easy and the ball goes 420.
I think Chipper swung a pretty heavy bat. That's why I was wondering if Matt does too.
Not as heavy as Chipper did. Nobody does anymore. But and Chipper had that backspin like almost nobody else could do. And like he told me, he said, I could see the ball better than most people. Don't forget that. That's what he said. He had 2015 vision. The guy didn't even wear glasses until he was in his late 40s.
When you're Chipper Jones, you can say that, and it's nobody can really argue with it.
I think, I could see the ball better than most people.
And it's not even being cocky; it's just being honest.
He was being honest.
I just see the ball better.
You see the spin on. You see the spin rate that other guys can't see, man. So what identify the ball. If you can see 2015 as opposed to 2025 or 2030 or whatever.
Yep.
So the first of the 2 homers, the nightcap was the curveball. And like you said, the other one was up and away, and he goes oppo on it. That first one he hit, by the way, golfed it at 104, launch angle 34 degrees. Then he goes opposite. With his long arms and being 6'5", he can cover everything, man. And he has those hands down and out, the bat out. I don't know how he does that so much and still gets.
Well, he pulls them in, but you'd still think with how long his arms are, he'd have trouble getting them inside pitches. But he doesn't.
Loading. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Deceptively explosive.
Yeah.
Really is. Yeah, that was when I was talking to a couple of those Giants, I think it was Pollock said, he's got just so much explosiveness in that bat. It's unbelievable.
It's like, it reminds me of, do you remember the relief pitcher, Matt Thornton?
Yeah.
Tall lefty. That's what Matt reminds me of power-wise, where it looks so effortless and smooth, and then it comes out. Like, Matt Thornton looked like he was playing catch on the mound. And if you didn't have a gun on him from the side, you'd be like, this guy's throwing poo, 88, 89. You look up at the gun and it'd say 97. But it's just that everything's in sync and working together.
Yeah.
And they're big guys. They just produce this like smooth power that you don't really notice.
Olson's past 9 games, by the way. 9 games. He's hit 515. He's 17 for 33. 7 homers, 15 ribbies, 6 walks, only 3 strikeouts. 600 OBP, 12-12 slugging, 18-12 OPS in 9 games.
It seems like there's never not somebody going like this in this lineup. Everybody's always doing pretty good, but there's always one guy that's just on a just absolute hot streak.
He and Trey Turner are like the hottest guys in the league right now, I think.
Yeah.
Trey Turner's on fire, by the way.
Yeah.
Remember he hit all those home runs in the World Baseball Classic, and then he just went nothing for months. And then the crowd finally turned and gave him an ovation. And it's crazy because he has not slowed down since that night.
I used to hate Phillies fans, but the Alec Baum thing and the Turner thing the last couple years, like randomly just giving Turner a standing ovation. When you feel all that, you feel so much pressure to live up to that contract and you're not delivering, and then you get a standing ovation for free. It's like a fresh start. Those two things they've done have been pretty cool.
Corey asked, how's the atmosphere in Philly? Seems like the players, managers, fans are treating these games like playoff games. Yeah, it's loud. Place was pretty packed last night it had rained during the day and before the game. And here we are, on a Monday doubleheader. So the first game, the day game was pretty good crowd. That was a good crowd, but the night game was really good crowd. So they had over 30 though for the day game.
If they're in it, if Philly's in it, you can expect a good atmosphere.
Oh, no doubt. They're great fans. I mean, they're very passionate fans.
Yeah.
Boy, and they hate Acuna as much as Braves fans hate Bryce Harper. It's right there, neck and neck. Braves fans boo Harper every time they see him or they say his name on the PA system. They do the same with Acuna. And Ronald hits a home run, and he doesn't kowtow to anyone. And he could easily just eliminate a couple of the little things he does on his home run trot. But him and Ozuna are the same way. They're just like, nope, bring it on.
I mean, I think that does it to you too.
He thrives on it.
I remember warming up in that Philly bullpen, and it was like I was going out there to shut that dude up. The guy that's talking shit to me the whole time I warm up. It's like it's extra motivation, and it feels so much better when you know who you're silencing. But that's one of the just how rowdy that crowd is there and how much shit they talk. Yeah. I mean, they don't stop.
No, they don't stop.
I think that for me was my favorite stadium to hear it go quiet. If you came into a big situation, get out of like second and third, 1 out, and strike out a couple guys, because they're going to explode and they want you to fail. And then when you shut them up, walk off that mound, for me, that was my favorite stadium to do well in.
There was I tweeted this last night. They were booing Ronald, and there was a guy right in front of the press box. And I don't know if he was if he kind of realized how ridiculous it sounded, that everybody's booing Ronald for really doing nothing but hitting home runs and making a great throw. So everybody was yelling boo, and this guy was booing too. And you could hear it because he was right in front of the press box. We're sitting right there, and he goes, boo. He goes, he's too good. He said he's too good.
Hey, that pretty much sums it up.
That's honest. There you go. That's an honest appraisal of the situation.
Stop being so good.
Well, I hate to quote Barry Bonds because I can't stand Barry Bonds. Well, I can't stand what Barry Bonds did. But Barry Bonds was right when he said, they don't boo you on the road if you ain't great.
Yeah.
They don't boo just mediocre players on the road.
Yeah, and personally, I mean, it has no effect getting booed on the road. It's not your fan base. Getting booed at home.
Right.
That's a tough one to swallow.
Right.
But
I can see that.
Getting booed on the road is like, what else?
That's a badge of honor, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Fires you up, feels good. I do the same thing. If I was as good as Acuna, I'd be an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I would know that nobody can really stop me or do anything about it.
Well, I'm not as good as him, and I'm an asshole anyway, so there you go.
Right, there you go. Imagine you, though, hitting 40 a year.
Oh, I would do it.
If you had 40 bags under your belt, you'd be 40 minutes late.
The writers would all be ripping me for being a dick, man. But that's why Michael Harris said he loves being a villain in these places. And there's some guys like Michael Harris that don't want that. Their personalities aren't like that. They would just rather just do their thing, like Michael Harris says, hide down at the bottom of the lineup, do my thing, produce my numbers. That's what he does. That's his personality. But he likes to do this when he comes in, but he doesn't do shit to provoke anything, And he knows that Acuna does. That's his thing. He does.
Well, you gotta be able to back it up.
And he does.
He's good enough. I mean,
absolutely.
If you had his tools and his talent, I think you'd be pretty confident that you're going to succeed in any situation. So who cares if you up the ante?
I was talking to Terry Pendleton about Deion Sanders for a story that one of our writers is doing this week about Deion and how he's got this image now, to be a self-promoter and all that, and how that was so different than his image in when he played in baseball. Because in baseball, all the teams he played with, the guy said he was just a terrific teammate. And I wanted to talk to Terry Pendleton about that, and he said, we all loved him.
Yeah.
Said the energy he brought every day. He had us all, him and Norm had us all laughing. Or Otis, I'm sorry, Norm Nixon. I've been watching Winning Time, the Lakers thing. Otis Nixon and him and a couple of guys that would just be life of the clubhouse. But he said Deion knew his role. He goes, he wanted to play more sometimes, but they had like 5 outfielders that all were good enough to play every day, but they rotated him. And Deion, wanted to play more, but did his role and was and like he said, he was always so energetic, even on the days when he was practicing football and he'd come play a game. Said he was most energy anybody in the clubhouse. He played that one game where he played for the Falcons during the day and then flew to Pittsburgh for a playoff game that night and took a helicopter from the airport. And TP said he didn't play that night, but he was ready. He goes, if that don't scream team, then what does? I mean,
yeah. I know he got heavily criticized for it too, right? Didn't McCarver blow him up?
Yeah.
Then he threw that water on him for it, but
that wasn't a high point.
Yeah.
But anyway, but what bring me back why I brought him up, because we were both, TP and I were both saying how much we like that he's how much success he's having in Colorado, because there's a lot of people that don't like him. That a lot of the old guard football coaches hate the way he's going about it. Cleaned out the roster, brought in his guys, and he talks, and Terry said a lot of guys don't like that. They don't want him to succeed. He goes, but you know what? It ain't bragging if you can do it, man, and he can do it. He goes, it's not bragging if you can back it up. Then there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah, and I mean that's why most people don't talk. It's because you might get some credit when you succeed, but the joy people get out of your failure when you put that target on your back is, it for most people it outweighs the risk of not wanting to have that moment where everybody's like, pointing at you. I told you
Karma,
so. Yeah. You don't want to give people that joy, but
they don't worry about that. The ones like that don't worry about that. But TP said, he goes, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm glad he's doing what he's doing, and I hope he beats everybody, because I'm a Deion Sanders fan.
I've been rooting for him too. I've been watching. I think it's a cool thing.
What was that? Oh, somebody asked if you ever thought, Eric, random question. You mentioned you played with Adam Jones in the minors. He played in winter ball in Venezuela. Did you ever look into playing winter ball?
Yeah, I did. You can make some good money down there if you've got a little bit of big league time. You can go down there and make, 10, 20 grand a month, which if you've been an up and down guy, that's a good chunk of money. And a lot of guys can use it to kind of get themselves back into the big leagues. I thought about Japan too, but Japan always wanted, they want flamethrowers. They didn't want guys like me, and I was kind of toward the end of my career anyway. I would have done it. It just didn't really work out for my situation. And the year I was going to go, I wound up getting called up to the big league. So I figured I'd just save it for the next season.
Fuck Bill Gates, our favorite guy. PHUCK, Bill Gates.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. He says Michael Harris gets that same backspin as Chipper Jones. That's a good point, man.
I had that same thought. I don't know if Michael has the easy. Actually, Michael does. Because he hits a lot of those balls to left center that do not look like they should be home runs.
They just keep going.
It's strictly the backspin he gets on it, and it's impressive because you don't think of him as having that power.
And dude, you should see that dude. He's yoked, man.
Yeah.
And it's natural muscle and size. It's not like just ripped to shreds. He's big, and his lower body looks like a fullback. Yeah. It looks like, I don't know if you remember that Dallas Cowboys running back way back in the day, Newhouse. Mm-hmm. He's built like that in the lower body. He's built like a fullback. He really is. Yeah. And like Snit said after the game last night, Snit said, I told somebody, wait till he gets his man strength, because he's already a strong dude.
Yeah.
And he's still way young. He's going to get stronger.
Yeah.
And he can still run with that weight too. He's thick, but he can run.
Yeah, whenever he's covering that down and away pitch, and it is a weird bat path, because a lot of guys, you see them almost slightly come up on that ball, and then when they go the other way, you see it kind of tail toward the foul pole.
Yeah.
His stay true. I mean, he stays all the way through it, gets that true backspin, and he hits those low homers to the opposite field that they just seem to carry like 30, 40 feet farther than you're expecting off the bat.
His numbers are insane since that terrible start. I mean,
Yeah.
and the rough start I totally attribute to having the 2 injuries. I mean, made the serious back injury that sidelined him a lot longer than we thought it was going to. Then he comes back and hurts his knee, like the second game back or something. That slowed him for another week and had that big knee brace on for a few days.
Yeah.
So that just took a while because that happened before he could even get in the flow of the season. Coming out of spring training. We talked about this. Snitz made this point. I think it's very valid. It's a bad time to get hurt because everybody's easing into the season. So when you come back, it's not like you got hurt at midseason when you're all playing. You're in midseason form. Yeah. He got hurt when everybody's easing into that. So he comes back. He's at that level, and they're on midseason form. So they're kind of blowing him away initially when he comes back. He looks like a guy that should be in spring training.
Yep. So, every year, your body kind of goes through some changes where you have to figure out your keys for that season. And most guys are figuring out those keys. It's like, okay, I need to feel like I'm swinging down on the ball, to an extreme extent just to fix this little bad habit that it just happens from 4 months off and not being in games.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their keys for that year, usually locked in Monday in April, early in May. When you miss that, then you're trying to find yours against guys that are already locked in. So you're kind of playing catch up to an extent, but he found it. He just found it a little later and then it clicked and you see what he could do. I mean, I was never really worried about him. But it sucks to get off to that start and play catch up.
He's producing now even at an even higher rate than he did last year when he won Rookie of the Year. And so it would have been nice to see what he could have done if he from the get-go, if he didn't basically lose almost 2 months. Because the numbers he's putting up. Yeah.
He's going
to be a 30 to 40 homer guy. I really think so.
What's he done since that slow start home run wise?
I looked at it last night. He's got like 18 in the last I put it in my story. It would be the equivalent of about 30.
Yeah, that's about what I view him as. Is
something like that.
You could count on him to be around 25 to 35, and he might have a 40 homer year.
And he'll steal bases while he's young. I think he's going to get bigger and probably like Andrew and stop stealing them. Because look back, and Andrew had like 20 a year for 5 years, 25, something like that, stolen bases. I think that's what Harris will be. Maybe a little bit more than that. He can run. Let's see. I'm going to go look at that now that you asked me. Now that I put those numbers away for Harris. So he was hitting, it was a dreadful early on. He was hitting 190 with a 562 OPS. 43 games into his season on June 11th. Think about that. 190 with a 562 OPS. Since then, in 78 games, he has hit 346 with 19 doubles, 3 triples, 13 homers, 39 ribbies, 373 OBP, and 565 OPS. The dude's slugging. The dude has OPS 939 and hit 346 for the last 78 games. So basically half a season. And it has
in the 9-hole.
And a 9-hole. That's what's outrageous. I mean, that is literally a top 4 hitter in 20-some teams in the major leagues, at least, if not 25. Well, I can do that for any team. He could be hitting in one of the first few spots for any team in the league, including the Braves, if they wanted to, but they don't have to. They don't need to. And he loves hitting down there too, by the way, which almost nobody that's that good a hitter wants to hit in a 9-hole. So the Braves are taking advantage of that, the fact that he wants to be there too. And he just rakes down there. And who wouldn't want to be hitting right in front of a Ronald Acuna,
It's so nice because really Acuna shouldn't be a leadoff hitter. He just clicks there.
Right.
But having some bats at the bottom of your lineup to get on for him allows him to hit 2-3-run homers, grand slam, knock a guy in with a double versus, a typical lineup, you got that 8-9 is like, good defensive catcher.
Yeah.
And you got a platoon in left. Dude slaps the ball around, but you don't ever get a guy hitting 300 in the 9-hole with power.
I mean, Acuna and Harris are both guys that could hit in the middle of the order for a lot of teams. Acuna could hit third or fourth for anybody, obviously. But
you could win a division with them in the 3-4.
Harris could hit third or fourth for most teams.
Yeah.
Acuna obviously could hit anywhere for anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, those numbers are crazy good for how dreadful it was early. I mean, just like that. His teammates will all tell you they never worried about him. They never worried. They know how good he is.
Yeah.
Olson is 1 homer and 8 RBIs shy of the franchise records. Andrew Jones, 51 homers in 2005. Eddie Matthews, the great Eddie Matthews, Hall of Famer, 135 ribbies in 1953. Here's the one that's impressive, though. Olson has 50 homers. Nobody else in the majors has 45. He's got 127 RBIs. That's 23% more than the next highest total in the majors. 3 guys are tied with the 103 piece. 23% more, the lead. And he and Acuna right now are tied with exactly 1,000 OPS. How weird is that? 1,000 exactly. They trail only Mookie Betts in the National League. Mookie's at 1,023.
Yeah, it's so hard for the numbers to match up right at 1,000.
Yeah. It'll be the only day it happens probably too, you know?
Yeah. Leading the league in homers and RBIs that's the dream for a first baseman when you sign him.
The Harris line drive homer to center of the second deck, the second homer, last night, because he homered in each game yesterday. The second one was so underestimated. The length estimate that they gave us, it was at least 40 feet off. They said like 407. It was in the second deck, and it wasn't down the line. It was to right field, straight right field.
I got to watch it.
Second deck. It was a shot, man. It was a shot. People were like, ooh.
I don't trust those things. Ever since that one Ozuna hit at Fenway, and they said it was like 375 and the fence was 410.
Well, and was it Harris that hit the one out in that landed in the water in San Francisco? Somebody hit one in the water. Somebody you might remind me.
I think he one-hopped it, but yeah.
Well, it went in the water, and the estimate they gave was 20 feet further than the damn fence there. Okay, there's a narrow section of seats on top of that wall. There's like a bar in there.
It's at least 20 feet by itself.
There's like a bar in there for the Giants alums, which I didn't even know about until somebody said when I was out there this time, where all their alums can go there forever. It's pretty cool.
That's sick.
Yeah, in right field in the corner. The guy was telling Moylan.
That's what that is?
Yeah, Moylan was – I was talking to Moylan, and one of their players came up. One of the former players said, yeah, that's like a bar they got for us up there in the corner right there by –
I didn't know that.
To the right of the right field line. But then after that, there's a sidewalk that's about 20 feet behind that between the wall and the water. There's a sidewalk. There's a walkway.
I'll tell you the one that threw me off this year as far as the estimates go, where I know I didn't trust it, is a guy hit a ball that the outfielder tried to rob on a 410-foot fence. Right. Tried to rob it, so it probably went 412 or 413. And they had it estimated at 427. I'm like, where'd those extra 15 feet come from? The guy tried to rob it.
They're saying it was going at this angle. It would have gone another 10 feet. That's a hell of a line.
I've seen them because people call these estimates out, and then whoever works for MLB will post, the actual arc of the ball and say, I know it looks like a long shot, but the ball's coming straight down when it goes over the fence. Right. But then I saw that one. I'm like, show me the path on that.
Right.
Because it'd have to be a straight line drive.
Unless they've changed it, they have 3 paths to choose from: line drive, middle range, and then a high arcing one. They have to choose the arc that most closely resembles the home run.
So it's an estimate then.
Right. It's an estimate.
Yeah.
Right. It's more scientific now than it was when they first, because first they just did overlays of every ballpark, and they had set and then you take the arc, point to the spot where you could see it land, and apply the arc. So it was it's a little more scientific now in the age of StatCast and all that, but still it's estimate. It's not really exact like StatCast numbers are,
Like that ball Acuna hit in the third deck and left center at Citi Field.
Oh yeah.
It's like that. It's 500
Oh yeah.
feet.
Yeah, that one was ridiculous. Yeah.
And if it's not, just lie to me, because that's what it feels like when I see it. It's like a buzzkill. The guy hits a bomb and you're all excited about it. Holy shit, that's the farthest ball I've ever seen hit.
I would have
StatCast 399.
I would rather it be old school and just let us estimate.
Tell me 537 and I'll be fine with
right.
it.
That
Let me
people
enjoy
more
it.
romance in the game. We need more of that.
Don't buzzkill it with your science.
Like back in the spring when Jason Hayward, remember, had the phenomenal spring where he was hitting all the bombs to right field and they didn't have the tents up yet. And he was breaking windows on employees' cars, like Braves front office executives.
Yeah.
He broke like 2 windows and dented a couple of them too. So the next year we come and they got those tent things, canvas things all the way across to protect the cars. And they put the fronts down and zip them up during batting practice. That was Jason. We called those the Hayward tents. Yeah. But we wrote about him that spring because he made his debut that year. And there was no video back then. Now you see footage of everything that happened this spring. There was no video hardly back then at all. Yeah. So it was like kind of like the olden days because everybody had to just rely on what we were reading, and everybody so excited. It was kind of cool to be able to do that. And people, I think we're losing so much. Here I have an old man rant here, but it's true to me. We lose so much of our imagination these days because we see everything. Data. You got your phone. You hear about some home run a guy hit. And go, let me dial it up. Most younger people can dial it up within 20 seconds. They can show you the home run. There's no romance, no imagination trying to, in your head, picture that. So, because in your head, it might be even greater than it was if you just read the description. And I miss that about the game, about sports, being able to see everything as it actually happened all the time, and not get romantic about it or anything. But
just let me lie to myself. Let me live in how cool that moment felt and leave it at that. Don't come in with science and buzzkill the whole thing and tell me it's actually only 425 because in my head, that's the longest home run I've ever seen.
Like the longest one I've ever seen, well, 2, Mark McGwire, the steroid year, the home run chase year with Sosa. The longest one he hit that year was off this Marlins pitcher. It was a young Marlins pitcher that should not have been in the majors yet. It was 98 when they blew the team up, and he hit it off the facade at Old Busch Stadium in center field. The facade, which was because it was a multi-purpose stadium. So the facade was way beyond the fence. Yeah. And the facade was the same one that ran. It was a round stadium, circular stadium, multi-purpose. So it ran all the way around the field. So where I'm sitting, I could reach out and bang on that facade. I'm in the front row. The facade is right there. So you could picture it went all the way around, and it was probably 50 feet behind center field at least. And then upper deck where we are, the facade is the second level. So the facade was probably, I want to guess, 80 feet off the ground, 70 feet off the ground. And Mark McGwire hit the facade. The next day it was a post-dispatch sign up there. The next day he had a Band-Aid over where he hit it. But the estimate, if you can look it up, Google it, but it was like 540, something like that, 540. Yep. Nowadays, they'd probably estimate and say,
461,
437.
Yeah, I hate that.
But then the other one,
he hit the back wall in Cleveland, and he hit the back wall at the Kingdom too.
The other one I saw that was the longest I've seen was Big Cat off Kevin Brown at old Pro Player Stadium.
I've seen that one.
Oh my God! They have the tarps on the upper deck. Big Cat was with Colorado, and he hits a grand slam off Kevin Brown, nasty Kevin Brown. And it was a tank. Oh my God. Because Kevin Brown, he left the sinker up, which he almost never did. Yep. And he crushed it. And it was like one of those that immediately off the bat, oh my God, because the arc and the sound and the violence of it, the velocity.
That's the one I've been waiting for.
I stood at my seat at Pro Player. When he hit it, I went, oh my God, like that. And I thought, several of us thought it was going to clear Joe Robbins Stadium. We thought it was sailing out of the stadium.
Yeah.
The ball lands 2/3 of the way up the upper deck, which if you get it to the upper deck there, it's close to 500 feet. You just get it to the upper deck. Yeah. Tarped upper deck. It was 2/3 of the way up the second deck. He hit it so hard that when it hit the canvas tarp, it rolled up.
Yep.
So it rolled up another 10 feet, and then it went all the way back down. It was ridiculous. We're all just gasping. Everybody in the crowd's just like, oh my God, did I just see what I just saw? The initial estimate they gave, because we're all waiting, and a minute later they go, estimated distance, 560 feet. And we're like, that sounds about right. But then we're going, man, that's pretty long, though. That's like 100 feet longer than it. And then they came back with a revamped estimate that was 529, I think. That was the official estimate. It's not as accurate as it is today, but I'm glad because I want it to be able to say it was 529. That's what they said. So, but I mean, you don't see any today that are the longest we've seen is like 490 something, 495.
Nobody gets 500.
Nobody's got 500 in the StatCast era. Close. Acuna's gotten close several times, but 529 and I think it was legit because it was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous home run. Then afterwards, Kevin Brown, some visiting writers from Denver, national guys or whoever there, don't know Kevin Brown. You do mess Kevin Brown's most pitchers you could ask, like, wow, what'd you think of that one? And most guys will be like, has it come down yet? Or like, oh yeah. Yeah, I've never given up.
You got me.
They'll joke or whatever, right? Not Kevin Brown. Somebody asked him and said, wow, did you think that was leaving the stadium? And Kevin Brown was like, totally serious, looks at him and goes, is that a question? Is that a real question? he was still fired up like an hour after he came out of the game. He wanted nothing of humoring the guy.
No, I must not have known him to ask that.
No smile, no nothing. But
yeah, you give up those. It's kind of like, all right.
And then I think that was the next day. It was a day game, Sunday day game. Dennis Cook, remember that reliever, Dennis Cook? He was kind of a scrawny veteran, but he was tough, man. He would like back down from nobody. He was wiry, probably 175 pounds, nasty, wiry dude. And the next day he hits Big Cat. It was obvious purpose pitch. It happened back then, I missed that. But he hits Big Cat. Big Cat, who was about 270, 260, goes running towards the mound. Bobby Bonilla, who's about 250, is at third base for the Marlins. Bobby Bonilla runs, intercepts Big Cat because Dennis Cook I think he threw his glove down. I know he stood on top of the mound, did not move.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go. And Big Cat's rumbling out there. Bobby Bonilla comes in just before Big Cat gets to the mound, to the dirt, grabs him, man, bear hug. It was like 500 pounds of men right there. And he held him like that. He held him up and kind of held him back because he might have killed Dennis Cook. And after the game, we asked Bobby Bo goes, the Big Cat's a big boy. It was awesome.
Some of those dudes back then, man.
It was awesome. Bobby Bo was the man. I liked Bobby Bo. I know a lot of people like in New York especially didn't like him. I really liked him. He was highly entertaining. Rep. Yeah, he's highly entertaining.
He's in the clubhouse every spring. He works for the union now, and he's great.
Yeah, and looks like a retired football lineman now.
Yeah,
about 300.
I can imagine him working out would be scary.
Yeah, and he played, man. You talk about playing hurt. He played that year with an Achilles injury that was strained, about to tear, and after the year, he got it debrided, I think they call it, where you have a run like a comb kind of through it to get the scar tissue and everything off of it. They didn't have to give it redone, but he was in the boot and all that. But he played through the World Series with that. It was pretty impressive. Didn't miss a game. So yeah, on the back-to-back homers, by the way, that was consecutive pitches by Harrison Acuna, and that was right after Andrew Bellotti comes in for Taijuan Walker as the first two guys that Bellotti faces. It's like, how about entering a game? Have you had that happen before? You enter a game and gave up consecutive homers, and they were both line drives to Acuna and Harris. They were
not back to back. I've come in and gotten shit on right away, and it's not a good feeling. I mean, just hard hit line drives.
Yeah,
because you want to ease your way into a game. But I think the most shocking one for me was just throwing Prince Fielder a first pitch slider. Because it's different now, because ever since all the analytics have come in, guys are okay throwing nothing but breaking balls. And back then it was all about, you got to get your fastball, set up the slider. And I'd gone like this is probably mid-August or something like that. And I'd gone 4.5 months of throwing a first pitch slider to lefties. You throw that get me over. Yeah. And it's just a free strike.
Yeah.
So all right, I'm going to flip one in here, and then we're going to get to work. And I flip one in, and he's sitting on it and just shit. I mean, he hit it. It was one of those ones I just put my glove up. I didn't have to look. Those ones are shocking, but coming in and giving up back-to-back homers.
Next ball, please.
It's like, all right, I'm going to have to battle here. I don't know how I'm going to get through this one.
Speaking of big boys, that was a big boy.
Yeah. Prince?
Yeah. Him
Yeah,
and
he
his
was a
dad.
scary at bat.
Him and his dad.
He was
were
hitting
built-
home runs at Tiger Stadium at 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah, him and his
The
dad were built the exact same.
Yeah.
They were huge.
That is so insane, though, because the fence for a 12-year-old is 200 feet.
Yeah.
The fence for a 13-year-old is about 250, and he's hitting balls 330, 350.
Yeah, Little League fences, official ones are 200.
Yep.
Yeah, he got it from Cecil, man. Cecil and him put up I think they ended up with the exact same number of home runs, something crazy like that.
Yep.
Exact same number.
Yeah, and he had his neck was why he had to stop, but
yeah,
that guy was one of the scariest at bats because it's one thing when you face a guy that doesn't get cheated, that's like 205 and kind of tall.
Yeah.
When he's built like Prince and he's up there to do one thing and you make a mistake and he's every single swing's a 3-0 hack.
Right.
It's like, just the pressure that puts on you not to miss.
Harris, by the way, became the 9th Brave this year with 15 homers. 9. And then Darno's got 11. So they got 10 players with more than 10 homers. 10.
Are they going to beat that Twins record?
Yeah, they're on pace. They're staying on the pace. They're ahead of it now with the 2 last night. And
that was a juice ball year for sure.
Juice ball year. The thing what people don't realize about the Twins hitting 307 that year was the Yankees had 306.
Yep.
And the Yankees did it without having a single guy with 40.
In a Little League park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Juice Ball and Juice Park. So, yeah, he hits Harris hits 423 to straight center at 107.7. And Acuna follows on the next pitch, as Acuna is wont to do, 111.1, 420 to left field. If you're Bilotti, you're like, okay, I've thrown 5 pitches. And I've just given up 3 runs on 2 bombs.
900 feet of homers.
Both at 107 and 111.
Yeah, that's this lineup, Yeah. If I've just watched it and I'm like, every pitcher that comes into a game, if you don't have your A game, there's not a pitcher this team can't hit, which bodes well for the playoffs. Even aces, you better be locked in. But if you're a relief guy and you come in and you're already down 4 or 5, you could easily give up 5 runs before you even find the strike zone.
I think their depth is going to help too, because as we've seen in the playoffs, so often good pitching can cool off great hitting.
Yeah.
But that's a normal lineup with like 4 or 5 really dangerous hitters. I think with the Braves' depth, it's going to put that to the test, because so far, very few pitchers have really cooled them off, and usually it's been in a spell where they're not hitting much,
or a random guy.
Right, a random guy.
He didn't pitch that well; they just had an off day.
Right. But when they're raking like they are, most of it, they don't rarely get held to 2 or 3 hits and 1 or 2 runs if they're.
It's like once a month.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be interesting, man. I do know they need to get better pitching than they've gotten lately from Strider. For the year, he's had a really good year, but the last 2 starts have not been good. And now he's coming off of sickness. He's going to pitch tomorrow. He got sick. We had the flu virus, same thing that Austin Riley had. So he's going to pitch. He would have pitched yesterday otherwise, and they would not have gone. They would not have brought Kyle right back after just 3 rehab starts. Plan was another start or 2 for Kyle. I thought that first inning, Kyle just did not have stuff, and he missed locations and gave up a lot of hits, hit a guy, walked a guy. And he said afterwards, to his credit, he said, the first inning just sped up on me. The game, he goes,
oh, that's the exact term I was going to use. He looked sped up.
He said, to get the exact quote, because he talked about how the difference, and you've talked about this a lot, and this is from a guy who led the majors in wins last year.
It doesn't matter.
He said, he goes, it's just, you can't, it's not the same. You get out there with a second and third deck, the crowd, the other lineup, because that Phillies lineup, as Snit said, is just as powerful as the Braves. They're very close.
Yeah.
And you get out there, it's just so different than a rehab game. And he goes, and I just sped up, I sped up. The first inning was, and by the time, the second inning came out, and he really looked good. He walks the guy in the second inning, starts the second inning, and then retires 6 in a row.
I think the only thing you could do to really prepare yourself for that is take a greenie or some kind of amphetamine or something before your rehab starts. Yeah, because it's there's no adrenaline button. There's no way to simulate adrenaline. And I went through it when I came back from Tommy John. I'd done all my rehab stuff, and you definitely, anytime it's an official game or the first step toward each level you climb on your way back, you're a little more excited and a little more focused. But I made my first pitching appearance in the majors, and this was in Oakland, day game with probably 10,000. But it's just the fact that it's official. You're back in the big leagues. That adrenaline hits.
Yeah.
And it's like your first playoff game. You know, you have this adrenaline flowing through you, and it's not even mental. Like your body's just way faster.
Yeah.
You're moving faster, and it's hard to sync that timing up with having felt one way for so long. And then all of a sudden you go to move and you're just moving faster because you have adrenaline for the first time. It's hard to control, but I mean, he got that out of the way pretty quick and settled in and got his work in, you know. But you could definitely tell yanking breaking balls, his fastball sailing up and away. It was just a timing issue. And I don't know how else you could really replicate adrenaline without taking something to make it happen.
Snit was glad that he got his 4 ups. You know, he came back out for the 4th inning. He got 62 pitches in. It's what they wanted, 40 strikes. We'll see. The next one's going to be a lot more, obviously, indication of where he is. His velocity was down in that first inning, but I think that probably goes with speed. And
timing.
But we'll see. The second and third were impressive. I mean, to sit this lineup down in order like that, 6 straight guys, they're hot right now. This team's hot. So we'll see. But they need somebody for that 4th spot to step up, because they're going to need at least a couple of starts from a 4th starter if they're going to get past the first couple of rounds. And right now you can obviously count on Freed. You got Charlie and Strider. If Strider, as long as Strider's healthy, he should be good to go. So, but anything can happen, as we saw last year, and like Strider just got sick. You don't want that to happen in the postseason. Kyle Wright's got enough time now to make a few starts to get it in gear, to get ready for the postseason. And Charlie just needs to stay where he's at. Max has mixed in like 3 really good ones with 2, I mean, when he's been on, he's looked like vintage Max Fried. So eager to see what he does tonight. That's going to be against a great lineup.
Yeah, his curveball should play well against this lineup.
So, and then also one other thing, Dylan Lee was optioned after the first game. He just hasn't looked right to me. He didn't have great rehab games. He missed so much time with that.
Yeah.
He missed so much time. He had the shoulder. He had a cortisone injection while he was down, before the rehab assignment started. And he just hasn't been the guy that he was last year. So he comes in last night and gives up in the 7th inning, leadoff walk to Schwarber, 2-run homer to Trey Turner on the first pitch. Faces 3 guys. Then after the game, they optioned him to AAA. Combination of, it looks like he could go used going down and throwing in some games down there and keep going, keep working on things. And the other thing is they just couldn't option the other guys because they needed length in the second game. So he's a guy with the option. So, but Snit said it's tough when you miss a lot of time. You miss that much. He missed 3.5 months. You miss that much time. Your arm's not built up. Feel the whole thing. I mean, it's tough. It's just guys that miss spring training. They don't catch up all year. It's not going to hurt them at all to go back down in AAA. And they wanted that, like he said, we didn't want to option any of the guys that could give us length in the second game. So, and then the other one is Chavi starts his rehab assignment tonight in AAA.
Does he?
Yep. Now he's 40. We're going to see him maybe in a game. He could be back sooner than later. It's taken so long because that left shin contusion, I think, would end up being a hairline, because you just got a flat and hardly any fat there at all. And it was a lot worse than it initially looked when they were talking about a couple of days. Ends up being, since mid-June he's been out. But
it's been that long.
Yeah, mid-June. Remember, he was putting together an all-star season before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Terrific numbers. So they have enough time. They could, if he throws a few times, rehab games, if they need him, they could. He's an option, obviously, for the postseason roster.
Yeah, he'd be. I mean, really, their bullpen's been looking pretty good. I've liked how Minter's been throwing. Iglesias, I mean, he gets a ground ball yesterday.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. Trip it out of it, yeah.
But overall, the bullpen looks pretty good. I mean, I'd love to see Dylan Lee lock back in because he was so good for so long and so quiet. But it is. I mean, you kind of get behind the 8 ball and try to play catch up. It's a tough time of year to catch up.
There was just 2 quotes that I meant to today. Matt Olson, we asked about Charlie Morton. longevity. How's he keep doing what he's doing? And
Nobody knows.
Olson said his stuff is the same as it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know. He always finds different ways to get outs. Some days he's very curveball heavy. Some days he's coming at you with 97. Some days he's cut or change up. So it's tough to game plan for. And then I asked Charlie about that throw that Acuna made, because Charlie was on the mound. Acuna misses the ball in the sun, picks it up, throws home, cuts down the runner. Charlie goes, I didn't even expect a throw there. Right. I wasn't expecting a throw. He said, I lost sense of where Baum was because I was waiting for the throw to come in to stop the guy at second. And here comes this ball flying in from the outfield, and I'm just standing there looking at it. I mean, I honestly didn't see him throw the ball. I just saw it coming in because, like I said, I was just ready. I was somewhere on the mound feeling like if he starts to run to third, I need to go run over.
Yeah.
And here comes this ball from the outfield. And Olson said, I mean, completely flat-footed, just a dart to home. I think I saw Bohm, and then he said, I think I saw Bohm and them talking about it on the field too, about how he was flat-footed when he threw it. It's incredible.
That's why they sent him. You know, you send him because he's not in a position to get anything on the throw, and he can just do it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, 2 more here in Philly. The Braves can clinch if they win them both. If not, they're going to have to wait till they go down to Miami. And the Marlins are playing well, too. I mean, even though they've had some injuries lately with Soler and Alcantara, but they're no pushover. So you don't want to have to wait, and you don't want to clinch down there either the second year in a row. It's just, not much atmosphere. They're drawing a little better now than they have in recent years. But to do it against the Phillies on their home field would be perfect, for the Braves, the rivals. I know they would prefer to do it here, and then you have a day off Thursday and be able to really enjoy that day off in Miami. If you clinch, that'd be perfect for them. So, and you got Fried and Strider going the next 2 games. So it's lined up. If both of those guys pitch well, Fried faces Zach Wheeler tonight. So that's never an easy road. That's for sure. Zach's tough, man, against his hometown team, the Braves. And then Christopher Sanchez, lefty, goes in against Strider in the series finale. So each of them with a 3.49 and 3.26 ERA, the 2 Phillies starters there.
I'd like to see them both have good starts because
good matchups.
You might be seeing this team in the postseason.
Yeah. You could right now. You would face the winner of the Cubs-Phillies in the division series. That's a tough draw.
Yeah,
both those teams playing well.
Yeah, both tough parks to go to.
And the pitching the Cubs have, the first 2 especially. That's where that bye will help you. I hate the bye for the team that has to wait like a week, between once you clinch and the last, you wait several days, but it ends up being like a week really when you're not really playing hard at all. But in the Braves case, if you face like the Cubs would have to use those really good starters to win that wild card series probably. So that could help because hardly anybody's more than like 3 deep with pitching now. Nobody's got 5 starters anymore like the Braves used to.
I mean, the Braves are as close as you get.
When they're healthy, they do. They have, when they're all healthy and they're all going well, they do have that. With Kyle Wright's healthy and going well.
Yeah. I'll take Elder in a playoff game if Wright gets his innings up. I mean, you've seen.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Bryce a while ago. Well, obviously, he's going to be in the 3 if he's pitching well.
Yeah,
and he's only had like 5 mediocre starts this year, and they were all lumped together too.
Yeah, and they got so many different looks. I mean, Max throwing 95 with a curveball, Strider's throwing uphill, Charlie's got the curveball coming from the other direction, and then you face a sinker baller. I think it definitely helps these teams when you face a team that has like 2 or 3 similar guys, and all 4 guys are different looks.
Right now, and Kyle's got some time to make some starts and get a lot better, but right now I'd go Bryce Elder ahead of him.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, it's at 4. So, but you can also have Wright keep doing what he's doing and be ready for like second round, depending on what the matchups are. Anything.
Look at the numbers. Yeah,
somebody could get hurt for sure. We've seen that year after year. Somebody gets hurt. So, all right, that's it. We'll do another one of these maybe on the off day. If not, then on Friday before that series opener against the Marlins.
Cool.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks. 755 is real. We're out.